Merry 12 Days of Stashmas. Welcome back. This is the single eyeshadow tag. I thought I had this all set up correctly. Okay, I found this on YouTube. This is Kaylee Wesley and Haley's idea. I will link their channels down below. I found them extremely fun, and today this video is in collaboration with two beautiful women that I have come to know on YouTube. The first one is Staci. She goes by the handle XOXO Staci, or better known as Staci, and Marta's Makeup. So both of these women have been extremely influential on my journey for YouTube. Staci and I, we get together over coffee and FaceTime quite frequently. And we just sit around and talk about what is going well with our channels and what we can do to improve on our channels. So if you guys have seen excellent quality videos increasing, it's all due to Staci, because she is a photographer, videographer, makeup artist on set. She does an awesome job with all of that stuff. So I always seek her advice on everything that I do as far as camera wise and all that good jazz. She's also extremely talented with Photoshop and editing software, and has always been my go-to when I have problems or I need advice. She is my girl. So I love chatting it up with her. She's like my mommy YouTuber. We are mom tubers. So go check out her channel. It'll be linked below as well. And then I want to talk about Marta's Makeup. Her name is Marta's. She's from Norway and she loves makeup. She is my singles queen. I started binge watching her about, I don't know, 2 months ago or so. And she has the most extensive collection of 26mm pans you will ever find. She takes each and every eyeshadow single she's ever collected, and she will put it in a 26mm pan so that it stays in her collection and everything is dress right dress and just beautiful looking. So I aspire to have a collection like hers someday. But until then, this is my collection right here in front of you guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. So there's a series of 12 questions. I'll probably go through them fairly quickly just because that's the nature of the beast with me. I like to be quick and short to the point. But I am going to go ahead and sit down, so I hope I hope I have the microphone in a good position. How many singles depotted shades do you have? That's a really hard question. I just now got the numbers for that. So with my 18 A2A Shot Miss Eyeshadows, my 196 Coastal Scents, 12 Divina single shadows, 60 Makeup Geek, 67 Sydney Grace eyeshadows, and 66 unique shadows, plus my 24 ColourPop eyeshadows, my 9 ABHs, and my 3 Wet n Wilds right over here that are square. I have a total of 542 single eyeshadows. We gonna dupe some palettes in 2021. Yeah! Next question. What brand or brands do you typically purchase your singles from? Before today, I would have probably mentioned Sydney Grace. Coastal Scents is my number one right now just because I was able to purchase them in a mass amount. However, I would say probably Sydney Grace. And Makeup Geek. Makeup Geek is the brand. We're in a long-term relationship. I will always buy from Makeup Geek. I will stay a Makeup Geek customer till the day that I die. I love Makeup Geek. I love Marlene Estelle. I love their mission, what they stand for, all that good jazz. So I probably, before Sydney Grace, was Makeup Geek. And then it was Sydney Grace, which I love her formula as well. But I have recently turned on to Coastal Scents. That video has not launched yet, but it's coming. So make sure you subscribe to my channel because it's a fun one. I dupe a couple high-end palettes with really good formulas that are very well known and trusted, and they really stack up nicely. So you're not going to want to miss that video. Stay tuned. Next, number 3 question. How do you like to store your singles? I.e., one massive palette, smaller palettes with customized color stories, or organized by shade or color. I like to first and foremost organize my shades by brand. I prefer a palette that has a see-through lid, magnetic base. I don't like palettes with mirrors in them, just in case the mirror breaks and shatters. You have to discard all of those shadows because you don't know if you have shards of glass in there. So I actually highly detest anything above a 9 pan shadow, eyeshadow palette. Then I like to organize them by colors. So like here's more of my neutral unique shades, and then there's kind of more my cool tone unique shades, and these are just more of like my overflow shades. So first by brand, second by color / finish. These are obviously all of my mattes and more neutral shades, and then these are going to be more of my standout shades from Sydney Grace. So that's how I like to store my shadows. My palettes for Coastal Scents are coming in, and when they do, I will do a video on how I'm going to put them all in there and organize them, but they will be in, again, a palette that has a clear see-through lid. They'll be also stored by Color Story. So, do you have more of one type of shade or color than others? Yes. So I love matte shadows. I'm always on the hunt for a good matte shadow. So I have lots of mattes from Makeup Geek. I tend to be neutral with a pop of color. So again, neutrals, pop of color, 2 pops of color right there. There's my pop of color. I'm perfectly happy with those. Divina is the brand that I feel like I can go out and just go ham and buy something that I wouldn't normally want to put on my eyes. And I'm very happy with my decision every time I do. And again, when I made my 24 pan of ColourPop, it was all neutrals with my little pops of color, and these are matte pops of color. So that's who I am in a nutshell. Do you prefer pressed single shadows or loose single shadows? I prefer pressed. Singles gets messy, and I did order some singles off of Makeup Geek's throwback, and I will be pressing them in later videos. So definitely a pressed shadow girl. What is your favorite single shadow you own? Let's go ahead and break that down into top 3. So I'll take my top 3 brands that I love, and I'll give you my top 3 shades that I love out of each brand. I don't think it's any surprise to you guys that Sydney Grace's Tiara is my favorite shade from Sydney Grace. Kind of that warm, neutral, silvery taupe. That is beautiful. And I can always get it to look good. And I just think that it's very flattering on all skin types. And it's like a foil. It's like you just never run out of pigment. That was way too much, by the way. Makeup Geek. Let me see where that shade went. So from Makeup Geek, it is Mesmerized. Nosy old broad right here. I just want to see. I always like to show because I love to see what the shadows look like. On the front, back, sides, everything. Don't ask me why. It's again kind of that warmy taupe shade. I love it. Can build it, but it is very soft and satin-like. It's shimmer. It's above a satin for sure, but it's still that very warm undertone, shimmery taupey color. That is my jam. It's my jam. Okay, let's do one more brand. I think probably from my Divina shadows, my favorite is going to have to be the Star Chasers. As much as I love the Aurora Flares, I love this brand new Star Chaser that I have. And it's in the shade Lynx. It's chunky, it's wet looking, it's shifty, it's shimmery. It's beautiful. There it is. This does not do it justice. You want to either put a dark base or a white base or some sort of base underneath. I have tried it under a flesh colored base. It just doesn't do it justice like it does in, with the colored bases, like a white or a black. What is your least favorite single shadow you own? Oh my goodness. All right, here she is. And you'd be surprised, it's from Sydney Grace. It's a love-hate relationship. It is my favorite, one of my favorite colors. I know I've mentioned this in a couple of videos, but it is like hard panned on me. And mine is the only one because I think I watched Mandy Lee and hers doesn't do this. And it swatches beautifully. Watch. See? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe if I just scrape the top off. I don't know. I think this one just got pressed a little too hard. So what I want to do is in future videos, repress my own shadows. When stuff like this happens, to keep indie brands alive and thriving, it's best to try and troubleshoot yourself first. It's like when you go off and buy a brand new laptop, you're not just going to blame the, you know, company when it doesn't perform the way you want it to. You want to call tech support and get some help. So that's kind of what I believe here. I mean, look how gorgeous, rosy, a little bit mauve, dusty rose shade that is. That's so beautiful. But look, it just doesn't swatch. Look at that. It just, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But I'm going to try and repress it one of these days. I will. You watch and you see. It'll be in one of my encore videos. All right, let's also go through this. Pretty much any of these ColourPop shadows. These shimmers are junk. Let me show you. This one right here is supposed to be a duochrome. And it just, look at that. Do you see how that swatched? Let me go ahead and try to build it now. So that was Sydney Grace's Fairy Tale, if I didn't tell you that already. This is a duochrome, and it is thank you, next. Yes, thank you, next. Let's get some real duochromes here. And it's very, it wouldn't bother me that it's a sheer, except for that it's patchy sheer, and that bothers me. It can't be sheer and patchy at the same time. Let's go ahead and take one of my, I think this actually is a duochrome, and it's one of my AOA Beauty singles that was literally like 86 cents. Look at that. That one swatched better. It's duochrome. I know it's more of like a satin shimmer, but look at that. Like, it did better. Come on, ColourPop. You're supposed to be the queen of formulations, and that you gave me that? Do you have any tips for depotting shadows? No. I do have a video on depotting the 3 Wet n Wilds that I did. So these 3 right here, I just depotted them. But the only time I would ever depot a shadow is when they come in the single forms. So like this came in its own little case. So I was okay with depotting it. But I normally don't like that. I normally don't do that kind of stuff because it just doesn't go with me. It's not my vibe. Why do you depot shadows and do you regret it? I don't depot shadows. It makes no sense to me to depot an eyeshadow palette that you paid the packaging for. I see people depotting on Staci of Beverly Hills. If you're doing it for a video's sake and every single shade in Modern Renaissance is available, which I think that might be the only palette that is available in all singles, that makes sense to me. And in that case, yeah, I could see you doing something like that. And so when I go to build my dupe palettes, taking the Modern Renaissance shades because you can buy them singly might be worth it. However, I do have some Anastasia Beverly Hills. They're $12 a piece. I don't really think at that point you might as well just buy the palette because that's an extremely high price point. So no, I don't regret it because the 3 that I have depotted were from singles and I was able to recycle the material and they are now reducing space, but it's because you can buy them singly and individually. That's why I depotted them. Do you have any tips for not neglecting your single or depotted shadows? Absolutely. You want to get in here and you want to pick from each of your shadows a 9-banger or even a 12-banger. Okay, so let's say, I mean, don't take this palette and be like, this is going to be my next project pan. I'm going to tell you right now that would be extremely difficult because these are all glitzy, glammy, shimmeries, shifties, and these are multi-chromes. So that just makes no sense to do that. But what does make sense is to say, I don't even have an empty palette. Let me just move a couple of these shadows over. I don't even have an empty palette. That's actually a Sydney Grace shadow. Okay, so what makes sense is to say, okay, I'm going to pick out nine shadows that I truly love and I want to start using more of. So I love Sydney Grace's Toffee. I'm going to put that in there. I just love Blew My Mind from Makeup Geek, but I don't use it very much. So now I'm going to put that in there. Now, because I know that I've got this pop of color, I'll go ahead and return back to my singles and find a matte shadow like this Soft Peach, and I'll add it. Okay, I haven't dipped into my unique shadows in, I'm not even sure how long. So let me grab this shade Fervent right here and wipe it off because I think my kids got into it. And I'm going to put this in there. That's looking really good. Now we're a little bit matte heavy. I want more shimmer. You know what? I'm thinking I haven't used this shade right here, Midnight Amethyst, yet. This is in my collection, haven't even used it. Alongside that, I kind of want a soft shimmery shade for days that I want to do neutral looks. So now I'm going to go ahead and pick up Strawberries and Cream from Sydney Grace. All right, now I need some deepening shades, right? We want to deepen the look. Fervent isn't enough for me to deepen up the look. I don't think I want to get into the grays or the greens. I will stay with neutrals. So here is Enjoy the Ride. Okay. Every good shadow needs a black. I tend to do like a soft brown. So let me grab ColourPop's Cloud 9. All right. So now we've got 2 darks, a couple of lights, a medium. We've got 3 shimmers of color. I feel like very festive right now, and I want to add a golden. This is called Buzz. I think this is another multi-chrome from that AOA. Yeah. Well, it looks a little multi-chromey, but it's not 100% multi-chromey. Or maybe I would pull from my Coastal Scents. I just haven't pulled from my Coastal Scents because they're underneath. But there you have it. This is how I would recommend it. It's based off of my feelings. Or the number one recommendation would be what's coming out. So you can follow Indie Spotlight Makeup, I think is Amy Loves Makeup's Instagram page. When she launches all the indie favorites that are coming out, so let's say Glamlight launches a palette, just go find the dupes equivalent to that, because chances are you wouldn't think to pull like this chartreuse and this lavenderish purple and this, green, right? You wouldn't think to pull those, but maybe Glamlight comes out with a palette like that. And now you've pulled all these colors out. Whereas before I would never reach for those and I'd never think to do that, but Glamlight did it. So I'm going to mimic it. And now I've got my dupe palette, and then you use them for a couple weeks. And then when the next palette that launches catches your eye, you go back into your singles, you find all the dupe shades, you put them in a palette, and then you use them. That's what I do. That's how I rotate through my stash very frequently. And, and I'm using lots of different shades all the time, not getting used to one particular shade. Maybe Huda launches a nice neutral and you haven't done neutral in a while because you've been on greens for the past 6 months, like I felt like I was doing. I think the Huda Obsessions Haze Khaki launched. I duped it and used that for like a week or 2. Then there was another green palette. I think it was the Hocus Pocus, and Manny's Lunar Eclipse had like more of a teal green blue, but still same kind of family in my opinion. Then let's see what else happened. Then we had ColourPop's The Child palette launches. So I was sitting on these greens for a good solid month, right? And I was getting to the point where I was itching to get into some cranberries, some muted oranges, some peaches, anything but green. Even though I feel like green looks really good and I like it, but it was just too much. I had been doing it too much. All right, so that is my number 1 tip, or my 2 tips for not neglecting your single depotted shadows is A, make your own, B, follow the trends that are coming out with their palettes, and then use from your collection, and you will find yourself using shadows that you would not normally reach for. Next question, and we've only got 2 left, so thank you so much for sticking with me so far. Subscribe if you haven't already. And here we go. If you had to choose to keep all of your singles or depotted shades or keep all of your palettes, which would you choose and why? So I'm going to keep my singles. And just for the very reason that I just now told you guys, I can make any palette with the shades that I have. Almost any palette I can dupe. I can dupe based off of these 2 shades right here. Maybe I need a matte purple. I could probably put together the Raw Beauty Christie at Forest Sight palette. I could put together the Manny MUA Lunar. I know that they're not the same formulas, but I feel like the shades, they've been done and been done and been done and been done that, I would definitely keep my singles because I feel like you can make any palette off of these singles. And when you have, hundreds and hundreds of shadows like I do, it's pretty much goes without saying you're going to keep your eyeshadow singles over your palettes. Although I do have a few palettes. I don't have many. I don't have like most people, they might have like in the hundreds. I think I might have 25 to 50 after the declutter that I just went through. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with mostly just using my single eyeshadows. So that's fine. Why do you like to purchase singles? So example would be companion shades to pre-made palettes to make them more perfect for build your own palettes or dupes, or just a better way to support a brand. I think I'd have to answer that as To build my own palette slash dupes and to support brands. So most of these, besides this is an MLM, I don't, these aren't really considered independently owned brands, but Sydney Grace is indie, Makeup Geeks indie, Coastal Scents is indie, believe it or not, Divina indie, and Anastasia Beverly Hills actually I don't think is indie. I need to check up on that because I've been saying that for a couple times now. I really don't know if they're indie. I thought they were owned by like Estee Lauder or one of the big ones, but I could be wrong. I like to build my own palettes for dupes. You guys know that by now if you're subscribed to my channel. I like to take and dupe palettes that are mainstream. You know, they come up with the ideas. I just come up with the dupes for them. So that's my gig. That's what I'm known for, and that's what I love. I just love finding shades from indie brands that we support and love and cherish. Divina is one of them. I've got Terra Moons coming in. I've got Luxie Beauty coming in. Let's see. I got Copacetic coming in. All indie brands that I feel very strongly for. They have very clear, concise missions. That is it. That concludes this this episode of 12 Days of Stashmas. Thank you so much for joining. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you here on this. We will be in 2020 ramping things up. We're going to have live streams. We're going to be putting, you guys are a part of this collection. You guys don't know it yet, but you are a part of this collection. You will be helping me to find shades that dupe the mainstream palettes. I'm so excited for that. I hope you are too. Can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye.